everyone. Hi. So, I'm going to lower this down now. I love that song. So, I hope you're all doing well. Hey!
Look at you little background music on
I know,
there.
I was like,
Giving it a big one.
I'm going to dance to it. I'm like, well in it.
Just, it was well on one then.
I know.
Come on, girl.
How are you doing, Andy?
Top of the tree, Meacock. How are you doing?
I'm really good, thank you. So just before I introduce you and tell us what we do, I just got to say I loved that video today about the bouncer.
Bouncy Bob.
Yeah,
Bouncy
I
Bob.
just watched it
Was
a
a
minute
true.
ago.
I was walking through Lake District, and it's a true story. Bouncy Bob invented the space opera in 1971. And he was just walking about it, and he thought, fucking hell, I really need something to bounce about on.
Yeah.
And everyone was saying, fuck off, Bob. He said, I'm not Bob, I'm Bouncy Bob. And he said, no, you're not. If you watch that video, it's a true story. And then he invented the space opera, and they called him Bouncy Bob.
Wow, and how many? I used to have one. The one with the big. Is it the one with the big ring and they had the thing in the middle?
Big arms and a big stupid face on the front, like an animal thing, and you just bounce about on it. Well, it came from Bouncy Bob in the Lake District.
Wow. Well, that's amazing.
That's what you get when you watch my channel, full, unadulterated facts.
I know, and that's how I was going to say, it's not how I know you.
Yeah.
So, Andy, do you want to say who you are a little bit to the people who are watching?
Yeah, so my name's Andy Keaveney. I'm otherwise known as Kevo Upper Mountain. So that's like what I've been called that in the motor trade for years, Kevo. So it sort of stuck with me as a nickname.
Yeah.
And then we met 2 weeks ago, I'd say, at the Start Over movement first launch of the book, the first book that's coming out. And you're in the second book that's going to be coming out very, very shortly, which is mega exciting. This week. Wow, so you've got your work cut out for you, haven't you?
Yeah.
So just basically, I joined that movement not long ago. So only a month ago, something like that. So I haven't even got a fucking book yet. Look, we went to that movement and everyone's, what book are you in? I'm like, I don't fucking know, just started writing. I don't know.
I'm here, but I'm here. I want in. This is amazing. Absolutely. I'm here.
I've thrown myself in at the deep end and going meeting these people, and you know what? It was the best decision ever because it was such a good weekend.
It was,
and the energy in that room was phenomenal.
I know.
So,
I know it was. I thought it was epic. It was an epic day, and it's just. So for people who don't know what we're talking about, it's a Start Over movement, which is run by Sir Marco Robinson, who is, oh my gosh, he's renowned for, he was on number 2 Netflix producer. He's made loads of different movies and he's penned in, and he's also wrote quite a few books.
Got a Channel
4
TV
Channel
series.
4, yeah. He gave a house free.
For free?
I know.
Wait.
I know. It's just like, oh my gosh.
2 bestsellers. He's got 2 best-selling books.
So and he's so much more than that. He's so much more than just titles.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I the whole movement without him and his kind of, come on, do this, that, that kind of, we need to get this going. And
got a phenomenal engine and a drive and a passion for. Obviously, it's his baby and he started it, but now he's got all these people that are involved in doing it. He's done the first series is already done, and sort of all the places have been filled, and that's just phenomenal. You think about it, 10 books with 14 authors in each book. Some doing that, some logistics.
It's savage.
Yeah, it is. Savage. The wide spectrum of people, that's one thing I got from that weekend, was just where these people come from, where it's not just one kind of story. You read 14 stories and they're all totally different.
No, I know. It ranges all the way from like abuse, trauma, like what you're going to kind of say a little bit about your story as well in a minute, and from me, who I think a lot of you guys know, I've spoken about this before, about my son who died of leukemia, and I went on to have 3 miscarriages, was in an abusive relationship, so forth and so forth. There's a lot that I've not shared in my story, but there's a lot that I've shared because I could have just filled a book. You know, you've got so much stuff. It's just like, that might be another adventure. So I hope you've all got your popcorn. Who's watching? Because I ain't got any popcorn. Do you know what I've got?
Go on. What's that?
My strawberry rose balls.
Strawberry rose
Did you know that you can get roast strawberries?
No.
Yeah, I didn't until today. I know, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have to get these. These are amazing.
Can you with your posh fruit? Until you live in Cornwall. You don't get that in Leeds. We've only just got electricity.
I know. So, Andy, I was going to... Usually what I like to do is to get everyone into the mood and kind of relax, chill, and listen to a bit of music and have a drink of your water or whatever you're drinking and pull a card out.
Have we got some Tapo? Is that what you're putting on? Bit of Tapo music? Back at 80s?
A bit of what? Well, yeah, I put the Ordinary song on, you know, what was to go with our song from today, yeah. So, let's go with it. I usually listen to a bit of shamanic music as well.
Yeah, no wrong with that.
I know. Tell me where you want me to stop.
Stop.
Yeah, and then I'm going to pull a card. Oh, wow. Oh my gosh, can you see that?
I can see it, but I've got my readers on as well.
Right, I'm going to tell you what it says. This is your life's purpose.
There you go.
I know, this is your life's purpose. You know the details of the divine. So when I say the divine, I don't mean like the religious divine, like the universe, you know, whatever we kind of believe is what we believe in. And I ask you to help me to be aligned with my goals. Please clearly guide my actions so that I'm taking the best steps to fully manifest my wonderful and meaningful career.
There you
go. My God.
How about that?
How about that?
Have a bit of that. Ding dong do.
I know.
Magic.
I know.
Healthy, that.
Do you know what I believe? And we've all got different belief systems. And I guess it's kind of, you know, doing this whole how we know each other. It comes down to your values and how you kind of share your story. But for me, I believe in little snippets. You know, when you see little things and it's like, wow, like manifesting. Some people think, oh, that's a bit hippie. But I'm like, no, I think the more you put out, the more it comes back.
Yeah, I started to get into that a while ago, and I was never one for doing that. I was brought up very religious, sort of early kid, Roman Catholic, had that sort of...
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
Hence why I'm called Bernadette.
Yeah, I just found that I sort of joined the army and I realised, you know what, that's not for me. It was full of hypocritical...
I know.
It didn't sit with me at all, so I left all that to it.
Yeah.
Once I've gone through all my story and done that, when I got to 50, I hit a point where I started going really spiritual and then looking into all these kind of things, doing meditation, doing journaling, just looking at myself in a different way and manifesting. It works.
It does.
You know what I mean? If you get yourself into a positive frame of mind and you believe that it's already happened, you're already in that energy. You're already in that frequency.
Absolutely. So, shall we? I know that we talk what we were going to be talking about today is about vulnerability and resilience.
Yeah.
So part of your story and my story is we've gone through a fair bit of shit.
Yeah.
You know, to say it in
that's not dressing up. It is what it is.
Layman's terms, it's been a hell of a life. Yeah. There's been good bits and there's been some really horrific bits. So, would you be able to share with some of the audience what you've gone through? Bits that you're going to feel okay to share. You don't, you know, tonight.
That's fine. Yeah.
You don't want to share all of it because you want people to buy your book, don't you? And
so once I get a fucking book, I'll be all right. I've got to write it yet. I'm sort of about 3,500 words in, so I'm closing in by the end of this week. First draft.
Wow. Do you know what? I completely changed a load of mine. Even when I'd wrote it, I took a few bits out because I was like, oh, that's a bit skimming on the edge if people read that. You know, when it's a bit like, oh, that's going to really impact on somebody's life. So I didn't kind of share that. So let's talk about you for a minute.
Right. So I'll give you a little whistle-stop tour of me. So I left school at 16, straight into the army as a young soldier, and I had to do 12 months basic training, which was pretty brutal, really. It was because you only normally do 3 months, but because I was 16 and you can't sign on until you're sort of 18 years old. That's when you can commit to the army. That's what we call signing on. To do 12 months. So that was just 12 months of running up and down Fugging Hills and getting absolutely beasted and just having all kinds of shit thrown at me, which was good because it sort of toughened me up a little bit as a young sort of 16, 17-year-old lad. I was crying a lot for my mum, but
I can imagine.
Yeah. And then I left the basic training, got sent to Germany. But when I got to Germany, it was just everyone was getting pissed every single day. The drinking culture was insane.
Is that Germans, or is it just being in what environment?
Being around the soldiers, the squaddies, just because you went to the Naffy bar, which was like the army bar. It was like 30 pence for a pint. Wow. It was ridiculous.
Wow.
So that's all you did. You got pissed. So I thought, well, while I'm here, I'll crack on.
Yeah.
And I made a bit of a sort of nuisance out of myself, and I wasn't really behaving myself, and I got into all kinds of trouble. I was getting into fights. I'd been accepted then by the lads. I got bullied a bit when I first got there, and I had to sort of come out very quickly, which I did. So that meant getting involved, and I was just getting in trouble.
Yeah.
And one morning I went on parade. I was saying this before because I did the podcast with Michelle earlier, so I was telling the tale. I went on parade with the sergeant, and the story just went. He said, "We need 4 volunteers to go to the Gulf, and Keaveney, you're one of them."
Wow.
So that's how I ended up getting.
No option, no choice.
No, and to be fair, it probably did me good because I needed it, and I got sent there. That's how I got sent to the first Gulf War.
Right.
Cut a long story short, there, one of my friends who I've trained to use one of the wagons got blown up. And because I'd been sort of trained as a medic, I had to then go and try and save his life, and it was an absolute shit show. It was just.
I didn't realise that because you got trained, you had to be the one to.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, the regiment that I left to get transferred over to go to the Gulf was a field ambulance unit, so that's what I was trained to do. I was a driver for a field ambulance, so I had higher than normal sort of standards of first aid. So that's why I got called back to save him. He died in my arms. It was just. And I was 19. Do you know what I mean?
You were 19 then.
Yeah,
and how did that impact on you after that? Obviously I work with grief and myself. So how did that? I'm assuming it impacted you on every cell in your body, your DNA.
Yeah, it did. I mean, I remember the thing that sort of stuck with me one of the most. I was sat on the wagon at the end of when that day finished, and I was sat there thinking, his mum and dad don't even know yet, and I've just watched this happen. And that really haunted me for years. Yeah. And I blamed myself, thinking I could have saved his life. So I took that with me, and that guilt and that trauma stayed with me. And then when I came back from the Gulf, I was like, what was I then, 21 when I came out of the army. I got kicked out of the army for drugs because I ended up getting caught with drugs. The rave scene was just happening. It was 1991.
1990s.
Everything was going off. So I just went mental on going.
When you say, I just wanted to go back before you go forward. So when you said you felt like you had to save him, you could have saved him. Were you living with like a lot of guilt, false guilt, and What made you think that? What made you think that you felt like you had to save him?
Well, nothing like that had ever happened. And it was when somebody dies at your hands. It's like I thought I could have done something better. I thought I could have been there and done something different if we'd have got there a little bit quicker, if I'd have done this, if we hadn't have done that when we was trying to treat him, because it was quite a complicated thing when we got there. It was just a mess. So we was putting dressings all over him, and then we're putting our way down his throat, and God bless him, he'd gone. But I was giving him CPR, and I had to be sort of restrained to say, and I remember one of the guys looking at me saying, he's gone. And that feeling I'll never forget. You know, it was, you tried to save someone who you'd got quite close to, and he's just died there at your arms. And that, I don't know, I don't suppose you can help yourself feeling guilty, because as many times as you get told it wasn't your fault, you still believe it. That belief.
What made you kind of, I mean, I'm assuming now that you've kind of processed that, and I'm assuming that you've come to the decision that actually that was part of the grieving process. That's quite normal and healthy to kind of initially feel that. But did that go on for many years later? Keep living with that?
Yeah, it did. And that's because I blanked everything out
Yeah.
by using alcohol and drugs, because that was then my go-to to numb the pain, forget about everything. And it wasn't really there, but I knew obviously it was still there. It was just not, it hadn't surfaced again.
Yeah, it was your maladaptive behaviour, wasn't it? You kind of drinking, and I'm assuming you were doing drugs as well?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I was just throwing myself at everything, that every kind of destructive behaviour you could do, I was doing. I was getting into relationships, blaming other people for things. I unknowingly turned into a victim. So I was like blaming everybody else. I was getting into these patterns of going in relationships and then saying, oh, well, and I'd finish it because it was their fault.
Yeah.
Deep down, when I got to 50 and hit the point where I thought, you know what, this has got to change, and I started looking inwards, it just penny just dropped, and I thought, you've been doing this for fucking 30 years, and it's all you.
Yeah.
The answer was always inside me. It was always down to me to sort it out. But until I took accountability to go and do that, it was never going to change. I was going to keep repeating those cycles, keep doing the same shit, and that's what needed to change.
Yeah. Okay, so that kind of went on for quite a long time then, for most of your life.
Yeah.
And then kind of you got to 50 and that happened. You had a moment, something happened for you to then realise this is actually, I need to take responsibility for some of the behaviours and impact on maybe other people, girlfriends, that kind of stuff. Okay. So what can you think of any defining moment that kind of did that, or was it just something snapped? When you say something snapped, did something happen, or did you just think?
A combination of things that kept happening. I kept seeing signs, but I didn't pay attention to them.
Yeah.
And I kept repeating things, and the more times I kept doing it, and it was almost like I was waking up slowly. Right. I think that's what it was. And then COVID hit. I was on my own through COVID. So I carried on drinking through that, but then I was just getting sick of it. I was getting sick of doing the same thing. I knew I wasn't happy at work, so I was being pulled one way there because...
What were you doing at work?
I was a sales manager for Audi.
Oh, okay.
So I was living in a corporate space. And to be fair, I had sort of relative success in that job, but I knew I wasn't fulfilling my full potential. I knew I was just sort of doing a job that was... It was a corporate... I was feeding a corporate greed machine that never gets full, you know.
Yeah, and just a number.
Yeah, well, this is what happened last year. They took me to a disciplinary last year because the used car department, which was what I run, wasn't hitting its targets, but they cut 25% of my management cover. So there was two of us that used to run the used car department, and they got rid of one to do cost cutting. Yeah. And then they took me to this disciplinary, and I sort of put my argument across. I said, well, how do you expect me to get the same results? And I got the appeal. I put an appeal in. I won the appeal. So they said, don't worry about it. We'll just take that off your record. No apology for putting you through 6 months that you could potentially lose your job. None of that. And I just thought, do you know what? Exactly what you just said there. It just made me realise I'm a fucking number here. Yeah. And it doesn't sit right with me. So I just went to have the conversation, and I said, essentially, I don't want to work here anymore, so we need to come up with some kind of agreement. And that's what we did. So I resigned.
Wow. And when was that?
About a month ago.
Say I know that, but just so the audience can kind of know.
I literally did that a month ago. No job to go to, but in the background, I've been doing a diploma in coaching, positive psychology and coaching with Andy Ramage, which was fantastic. And I've realised that this lights me up. I've got a passion for this. Yeah, you know?
You can see it. I can see it. You know, when I've spoken to you, when I met you, you can see your passion. Yeah. And just hearing some of your stuff online, it's like, this man's going to be good. You're going to help so many men out there that have got kind of poor mental health. Yeah. And so kind of going through from that bit where you kind of was in the worst bit, and then you kind of had that moment of like, stuff needs to change. Yeah. I can't live like this. COVID happened and all of that. And then you kind of, it's like a transformation. Would you kind of describe it as that kind of like, it sounds like that.
The best way I can describe it is that I just isolated myself, and I knew that I had to do that. So all my friends that were doing the same kind of things, which I'm not going to judge anybody for, because, you know, I've been doing it for 30 odd years.
Exactly.
I had to remove myself from sort of those connections. And I'm still mates with them. I just couldn't be in that space for that time. So I mean, it's 2 years now since I've been sort of clean and sober.
Yeah.
And for that time, I've pretty much self-isolated, apart from going to work and doing other bits and bobs. And in that time, I've just spent reading, I've spent listening to podcasts.
Yeah.
Hiking was sort of a saviour for me.
Wow.
So getting up in the hills and the mountains, that's where the Kiva Upper Mountain type came from, because I thought, well, while I'm doing this, I might as well just have a laugh, because I found when I was up in the mountains, I reverted back to myself, and I could just have a laugh, and I was just pissing about, making silly videos and just posting them and having a bit of fun. But I realised there's a lot more deeper to it. You know, the actual being connected to nature and being out there and being at one just gave me this peace to, one, reflect on what I was doing, where I was going, and it just all made sense.
Yeah.
So that's what I started doing. I just started getting really into doing the journaling, just having a proper deep delve into myself, and realising that I have been the issue. I'm now accountable, and it's me. It's up to me to make all those things that I've done wrong in the past. Can't change that, so that's fine.
Yeah, I was going to say you can, and it sounds like you can. I just want to kind of say what. So think it's. It sounds like you're going to start talking about stuff that you kind of did to kind of change things, to change your life, and to. I mean, this might be helpful for other people listening. Of what strategies you did. So you said you did journaling. You've gone into nature, which is that it's free. All of that is free. It doesn't cost therapy or anything.
No, it's one of the best things you can do. I started meditating, which is something that I never thought I would do, and just getting that learning. And I'm still very, very much learning how to sort of get. And it's not about quietening the mind. It's about when it starts getting noisy when you're trying to meditate, to then get back to have a quiet minute. So it's that exercise and exercising your brain to pull it back when it is getting, because no one can sort of cancel the thoughts out. It's impossible to do that. But it's the practice of trying to get that, because when you get those moments when you're meditating and everything just goes nice and quiet, they're priceless. You know. So,
I know.
But it's just training your brain, and that's really what I've sort of learned through doing the positive psychology, that everything that you've got, like your beliefs, they can all be changed. And as soon as you start changing those beliefs, you start changing your emotions. Change your emotions, you change your actions, and everything is rewirable. You're not fixed.
Absolutely, I completely agree, and I think we're both probably on that same kind of mindset, because I completely believe, and I believe people can change. Like you've said, you've just given your whole life story of that little bit of your life that kind of was, you saw someone who would you class him as like a brother in the tribe kind of thing, or was it not?
It was what we called a battle casualty replacement. So he came into us as not actually part of our squadron when he was over there, but then he had to learn how to use these wagons, because we'd only just been given these. They were brand new. They were like state of the art back then. So I had to teach him. I was the guy that sort of taught him how to use it. And on the morning that he died, I got my original co-driver back, and he moved 2 wagons behind in the convoy. So I had a relationship with him, quite a good relationship with him.
Wow. So there's that kind of knowing him, and then all of that happening in dying in your arms, you then feeling that false guilt. I call it false guilt, because it's not guilt, is it, as such? And you shouldn't. I'm saying the shoulds and oughts. We shouldn't kind of feel that, but we do.
Yeah.
Part of the grieving process, and kind of then you went on and you went through drugs, addiction, up and down, failed relationships, and you've come back and you're here now.
Oh yeah.
So thinking about all of that, what are you doing now, Andy? Where are you now?
In my headspace, or in
everything. So what are you doing? So we know I know you're doing the book. I know you're doing the book. So you're doing that, which is amazing.
That's what I started doing. That just came. So when I resigned, pretty much about a week after I resigned, that's when I saw that post of Marco's, and I thought, oh, okay, now that sits quite well with me, because I'd actually thought about writing a book, and it just popped up at the same time that whereas all this change was happening in my life, and I thought, that's what I need to do. So I just sent him a message. Within a week, I'd done everything and signed the contract, and I was in. And I was like, right, okay, that's really good. I've also just graduated with this diploma, so that was on the. And again, this is just another one of them mad synchronicities that I was in London on Friday morning to get my graduation to do that from my diploma.
Oh, wow.
the start over thing was on the Saturday morning, literally round the corner. You could throw a stone and hit it from right, and it was just like, this is insane how it's so close to, it was literally like 5-minute walk. It was mad. So I thought, well, I've got to do this. I've got to go down and do the Friday, the Saturday and the Sunday. So I ended up staying down there for the 3 days, which was one of the best weekends I've ever had. And then while I was down there, Marco, who's an amazing coach, that was doing all the training with us on the Sunday. And then they say, I just remember coming back from that thinking, I just need to put an offer out because I'm starting a business. That's what I'm starting to do. I'm going to call it Your Comeback Coach, which is exactly where I've come from. I'm going to specialise in resilience. I'm going to specialise in mindset because I was toying with the idea of going down the alcohol-free route because there's obviously a very good reason for me doing that, but it just didn't sit well with me. And I was waiting for something to just spark.
You've got to feel aligned with it, haven't you? You can't just kind of like, because you're going to be doing it and you're going to be selling it. You've got to feel aligned with that offer and your ideal client, and actually there's probably not, I hear a lot, there's quite a lot of drugs and alcohol coaches. There's not many coaches what you do though. Coming back from your background and what you do and
I think
that whole stuff.
That's why it's important that I'm not doing it out of a textbook. I've learned the textbook way and I've done it the very ethical way because I believe the foundation that I did my diploma through was such an ethical way of doing it, and I'm glad I did it that way because it showed me how to be professional with it. But I'm also drawing from all my experiences and what's made me come to this point to then want to help other people. What if I could have reached out to someone at that point? That would have helped me massively. So I just decided to put an offer out, and it was supposed to be for 5 people to get free coaching. And I put it out, just didn't even think. I thought I'm just going to put it out. Let's just see what happens. Take the bull by his horns. And by the end of the day, I've got like 30 odd people that I'd sort of said, because I had a decision to make. I either turn all these people away, or I just take everybody on that applies. Fuck it, I'll just do it. And it's going to mean like 2 weeks. I'm now up to about 37, and there's still people coming through every day. And
they're going to have a taste of Andy, and they're going to be like, I need this. I need to sign up. Because you've got that, like you say, you've done positive psychology, and that really comes across in what you do and the way you are, the vibe, and that kind of thing. So that's really going to be a massive, isn't it? So I'm really interested to hear about your offer.
The offer that I did?
Yeah, the offer that you did. You said,
So basically, what I did, I put out on social media that I was putting out for 5 people to put their hand up and to get a free coaching session. And by doing that, all I wanted in return was a testimonial so that I can put on my website, because I'm having a website made up. And then 30 people applied, and then I just took them all on. So it's great because what I'm going to do is I've got to do 37 40-minute sessions now.
Oh my God.
I know. But I'm also going to get 37 reviews, hopefully, if those people have had a good experience.
More than that, you'll probably end up getting clients. Full clients.
I just thought it just felt really right to me. And I know some people might turn around and say, oh, that's financial suicide. And I just thought, you know what? This is my business. I'm starting it the way that I want to carry on, which is completely ethical. And how it sits with me is if I can help 30 odd people, they then might go and tell another 30 people.
Absolutely.
And so on and so on. And I'm doing good. So that's the most important thing. At the beginning of this, I wanted to do some good to 5 people. It just means I've gone like 7 times more than that.
And it means that you're actually, you and you said about ethics and all of that kind of stuff, and that kind of really rings true with what you've just said. I'm just looking to see, we've got a comment here. It takes a lot of courage to write and tell part of your story that you've shared, and that's going to help so many people out there and where you are.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Oh my gosh, we've got quite a lot of people that are here. Oh, and hello.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah, sorry, we've just been kind of in our own little Oh, that's amazing. So, Andy, just thinking about what you've just been saying and what you're doing and your offer, what are you doing? So you're doing like one-on-one coaching, or are you going to do like group coaching with them?
No, for the foreseeable future, I'm doing one-on-one coaching because that's how I just need to grow my business. Eventually, I've got all kinds of ideas that I want to do.
Nature-based coaching by any chance?
I've been discussing with a brand today, so a brand's contacted me to do some collaboration with them today. And I've already mentioned this is something that I thought of while I was in London. Marco might have given me the idea, but I'm not giving him the credit.
I
But
don't give him the credit.
use it because that's my passion. My passion's being outside in nature. So if I can do some sort of walk and talk and take maybe a group up a mountain or whatever the sort of level is and do a group coaching session, I think that would be absolutely amazing to be able to do that.
That'd be more than a group coaching session, wouldn't it? It'd be a group coaching day.
Yeah.
Especially if you did Ben Nevis or something
absolutely.
like that.
Yeah. So you get the experience of being out and about. You get all the, and then we'd just stop off here, there, and everywhere, and we'd have sort of food and bits and bobs. And it could be a family event. There could be all sorts, but we could have little workshops and talk about mindset, talk about resilience.
I love that.
But on the top of the mountains, just like how good would that be?
Do you know what? I'm sold already. Do you know I did Ben Nevis in 22, and do you know what got me up there and back was my mindset. Yeah. Nothing else. My body was in absolute agony by the time I come down on my knees. But it was your mind. It was all my mind what got me down there.
Absolutely.
Because it's quite hard, and it's especially when you've got someone. I've got like dodgy knees, and I was determined. I'm like, and I'd not prepped, and I'd just had bronchitis,
right? Yeah.
And I just had antibiotics. Finished them the day before. Went to Blackpool. Showed my Cornish friend how to have a northern night in Blackpool.
Oh yeah, proper northern like that.
Yeah. And went to where did we go? Went to Glasgow. Yeah. Had a look around there. Noticed how bad the rubbish situation was at the time, and I was like, "Oh my god, I wish I'd have gone to Edinburgh as well." But we did. Ended up going to Fort William. Stayed there. Did Ben Nevis.
Yeah.
It was bloody amazing. Yeah. That's the only thing I can say is that. Do you know what what you've just said is going to be genius. It's gold dust.
I think it's just something that I don't know anyone that's doing it, and it sits perfectly with what I want to do. I want to take me coaching, and I want to spend this next sort of however long it is, months, getting myself set up, getting people to know who I am, what I'm about, what I'm doing, but then starting doing these things where it just sits well, and it's doing something different and getting people out in nature, but also having a double-edged sort of positive effect.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. Somebody said, dance Minky, I'd be up for that. I know. Me too. You're going to end up making a movement here, Andy.
Well, that's isn't it? I know.
Yeah, it is. And I think that's really important. Like, like me, I kind of, everyone knows me by grief, but I also do intimacy with like families and, relationships and with children. Yeah. And and that's really important, especially when you've gone through grief, and as you know, it's really important then to kind of then connect back into the family life. How's that going to impact then on the sibling? How's that going to impact, so that's what I kind of do.
So how long have you been doing that?
Oh my gosh. So when did I qualify? So I'm a qualified therapist, social worker. I trained at Cruz Bereavement Care for 5 years. I volunteered in 2009 for 5 years. Qualified as a counsellor and therapist in 2013. So I've always done it for many years, but it's only over the last few months. So I'm quite new. Yeah, I'm quite new. So I'm also doing a coaching course, an ICF coaching course. In the background, not that I need it. I've already done one, but this one is a bit more business focused.
Right.
Like kind of focusing on this sort of stuff. How do you message people so people understand what you're talking about? You're not just randomly going on to the millions. And and do you know what? I bloody love it. It's my life. It's an obsession.
You found it now.
Yeah, it's a hobby, and I think that's the thing is that I've always wanted a job, and I still work part-time for the NHS as a social worker with children, but I've always wanted a job that I want to feel happy in and pleased, and it's a hobby, and it's more than a hobby now. It's coming to something where actually it feeds my soul. I want to make a legacy in my son's name for generations. And I think that's the thing, you've got to have those. Like we were saying, manifesting.
Yeah.
It's no different to different cultures who pray, who make spells, who use cards. It's the same thing, but we word it different. Yeah, and I think it's really important. So, as a resilience coach, what would you want to say to people who went through something that you were going through for all those years? What advice or well, not advice, but what hot tips would you give someone?
I would say, I think through all that time that I was doing it, my beliefs were that I was a victim. There were so many wrong, and the belief system that I had at the time wasn't serving me.
Yeah.
And I think you deep down that you know it. You sort of, even though I was out of sync because I was using drink and drugs and all those kind of things which were affecting everything, when I look back, I knew deep down.
Yeah.
And I think it's just that a little bit of awareness that even if you are going through that, and no matter what darkness you might be going through, your beliefs can be changed.
Yeah.
You know, that's the important thing. Everything is temporary. So whatever it is, whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether it's looking indifferent, it will be temporary. And there's going to be either a dark day coming for you, there's going to be a light day coming for you. You can change it. You've got the power to change your mentality and to change your beliefs and to change the way that you look at life. Because when you do that, world's a different place. I've just learned how to reframe, and I've always been positive. I've always had that sort of nature around me. But I carried this big fucking black cloud around me for 30 years. While it was pissing down on me, I was still trying to get you know what I mean, put my umbrella up and be the ray of sunshine.
I love that.
Off.
That's like a proper metaphor, that is. I love that. Do you know, I could see that, you with like a cloud and the sun and, you know, that whole, like a business logo or something. That kind of thing. That sounds quite, yeah. Yeah, so I think, so basically what you're saying to people in a roundabout way is that this time will pass. What happens. You can change your mindset, you can change behaviours, your actions. It's going to be bloody hard though, isn't it? It's not easy.
No, it's not easy. And I couldn't do it on my own. If I would have had a coach at that point, and everyone, you know, a coach is someone that can just guide you. A coach isn't there to give you any advice. He's not there to tell you what to do. Or she, they're there to just ask you questions, to then give you time to reflect. Because it's different. A coaching conversation, when you're speaking to a client, it's not, when you're having an ordinary conversation, you're already thinking about the next thing that you're going to say while that person's talking to you. That's a normal conversation, right? Coaching conversations, totally different.
It's goal focus, that kind of stuff.
They should give that time to so if I ask a client a question, I don't expect an answer. I would expect them to sort of sit there and reflect on what's been asked, because that's where the magic comes, is when you start reflecting and thinking deeper instead of feeling the need to just respond. And that's where all the really sort of magical things happen, and the light bulb moments. And it's brilliant when you see one of them when you're coaching and you ask a question, they'll sit there and it'll be like, oh, why didn't I think of that? And it's because
we don't. No, people don't do that.
No, absolutely. And it's just, like I say, it's just being guided and it's being helped along the way to know something that you already know inside, but you're being blindsided. But the amount of stuff that we've got to deal with on a daily basis now with fucking social media and just everything, it's just 100 mile an hour, aren't we? And
we don't, and that's why nature's so important. I'm the same. So, do you know what I believe? I believe that music and nature, that's my Bible, as people call it. You know, what's your Bible? What's your truth? It's music, nature, and communicating my truth. You know, that kind of what I think. You know, and it's not judging someone, and it's having compassion for another person who's gone through something so painful. And I think the hardest thing is, in my experience, is family. Family don't always understand, and they'll tell you to get on with it. Why are you not over it yet? Are you still doing that? There's so much judgment. Whereas getting a coach, someone independent, you're not going to be judged. You're going to have a safe space. You're going to be challenged. You're going to have, I mean, for me, what I find is also really useful, which you said earlier, Andy, is about journaling. I journaled all the way through. I still do it now, all the way through my counselling and therapy training and my social work every single week. Even though it was so painful at points, I'm like, this is fucking boring. This is doing my head in. Why do I need to do it? I've still got them now.
Good on you.
I've still got them now. I carry them with me. It's crazy. When I move, I carry them and I'll keep them in this massive box box of shit. But it's not shit. It's my shit existence then. What I was going through, because I was still even. Do you know what? Even though I was like transforming from this kind of really meek, quiet person into this like professional, thinking, wow, who was I then? You know, and it's not when you're in it, you don't see it. It's when you come out, you think, and journaling and going back, sorry, I digressed a bit then, but journaling, I've had so many moments where it's brought memories up from what I thought I'd forgot, and it was in there, stuck at the back of there.
Yeah, yeah. It's good to reflect on those things, isn't it? Yeah. And what you were just saying then, there's a good quote on that one. So you can't see what's written on the jar when you're inside it.
Yeah.
But when you get out the jar and have a look in, that's a really sort of powerful thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but how do you get out of the jar though, Andy?
Get the fucking top off, kick your way out.
It's a lot, making sure that jar isn't sleepy. In Spider-Man. It's being your own hero, isn't it? It's kind of getting out of there. Nobody can drag you out of that. You've got to be hungry.
You've got to want to do it. Yeah, there's got to be a desire to change, because that's what I did, and I had to drag myself kicking and screaming from the person that. And I know that I was trying to protect myself for all those years, so I don't have any guilt about what I sort of did, because I know that version of me was just trying to keep me safe by just doing what I did, you know.
And it was keeping you safe. It served a purpose, didn't it? To where you are now.
Yeah. But I will never return to that person. As much as I love him and I respect him for getting me to like 50-year-old, that's it. Get the magic card, you know it.
Your life's purpose.
Fucking all over that.
Crazy.
Yeah. So tell me about the book then. You excited about this?
I am, yeah. So, oh my gosh, so we've got the live launch tomorrow. Tomorrow at 9 o'clock. And then hopefully it should be coming out on the Friday, I'm hoping. All depends on Amazon.
Yeah.
You know, on Amazon Kindle.
Yeah, it's coming out on Kindle first, isn't it?
Yeah, it comes on Kindle, then paperback and hardcover, like a week or two down the line. And I'm going to Dublin as well. I'm going to Dublin to speak on the 14th of June.
Cool. I might fly over. I might just get a flight to go and come back there. Okay.
I looked from UK to Cornwall, £32 on return.
Oh,
I know.
Can't get it.
Imagine how much.
Wigan for that.
I'm like, oh my gosh, that's not bad at all. But I need to wait for my passport to get back because I've had to renew it, and it's like in the midst of like. They said it's going to take 3 weeks, but I sent it like a week and a half ago. So fingers crossed.
Second book, the first book that came out, went automatically to a #1 bestseller.
It did. And this is going to...
excited. It's going to do the same thing.
It's going to.
It will do.
It all will.
The demand for it already has been absolutely insane. And it's great to be part of the movement and to meet everyone. And Dublin will just be the same. I know it's just like a one-day thing.
It's a one day. It's a one-day thing. And do you know what? So a lot of my family, grandparents, were from Ireland, a place called Kilkenny. And my name is Bernadette Mary, strangely. Roman Catholic, Irish descendants. And I've never been to Ireland in my life.
I know. We're south of the border. We're from a little town called Clune, which is just south of the border. Yeah. Keaveney. It's an old... So my granddad was like the first generation, and it was just so religious, and it was like... Yeah.
It's awful. I look back and I'm just like, do your confession and all of that. Oh my days.
My dad used to salute every time we went past the church, and it was just like, it was just ingrained.
It's cultish for me. I look back and each to their own, and I don't judge anyone. But my experience, my own experience from growing up is that I met some beautiful priests. Not how it's portrayed in the media. I'm talking like I went to Walsingham. I went on so many amazing events. But for me, my God isn't in a church. No. My God is Mother Earth, the kind of the world, nature, music.
Yeah.
All of it. We are our own God. And I think being spiritual has really helped me in my own grieving, after my son.
Yeah.
And I lost my faith in all of that, because I'm like, if there was a God out there, why would that happen? Why would it let that happen? And I look now and I'm like, why would it not happen? Why would it not happen? These things, and I know it's awful. People are like, geez, how have you got to that idea? But it's only through a lot of hard work. I used to carry his Moses basket with me because it still had his baby hair in. I carried it with me for years, like his body was still in there, you know. And I carried it wherever I moved. And it wasn't until, what was it, 2019, I actually got rid of it. Yeah. So it was then that actually a lot shifted, and I'm now working with people that are kind of in that same. Because I had complex grief. I didn't deal with it at the time because I was in a relationship that was abusive, and I wasn't safe to grieve. He didn't have any emotional intelligence, or none of that. I was 16, 17 when he was born, so I was still a child. It's a long time ago. So
you're just not cut out to deal with anything like that at that point. Well, not at any point in your life, are you? But even more so when you're sort of younger at that age, and then like you say, carrying that around until 2019. That's just,
I know,
it's so hard because you've got a reminder there all the time, a physical reminder, and I know it must have been for you then. It must have been some kind of comfort because that's why you was doing it.
It was. It was because it's kind of, even though I knew what had happened, initially I didn't. Initially, I thought I had this really weird feeling. Oh, I was 16 when I got pregnant, 17 when he was born, and I'm like, did somebody take him away from me because I wasn't a good mum and I was young? That whole denial. That looks like him I remember going on a bus and I remember looking at his child and he must have been about the same age what Jake would have been. And I'm like, it just looks like him. Is that him? It was complete denial.
Wow.
Complete denial.
So
and it should have never happened. The NHS failed, even though I worked in the NHS. They failed him massively, but I can't live with blame. I can't live in that mindset. I never did. I never did. I kind of was like, this is what's happened to me, and I'm going to work with that. And actually, when I feel okay, I'm then going to be able to help other people. I knew I was always going to do
that.
Yeah. I knew that my life was more than just being a mum and someone who works. I knew deep down that what happened was to create something bigger.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Mad, isn't it? We know these things, and when you're going through such grief like that, how you can automatically have an understanding of that there's a bigger purpose, which must feel so. It's like you're being torn in two, isn't it? I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at the time, it was horrific because I had no one to talk to at the time. It's not until I kind of moved to Cornwall and kind of got my own therapy and worked through it. And then I was like, I need to do something. I need to help other people who are going through this. Hence why I ended up volunteering for like 5 years for a bereavement company, and then did my counselling and therapy and all of that kind of stuff. And then I'm like, I need to do more than this. I know, let's be a social worker.
Let's chuck another layer on it.
Yeah, now I'm just like, do you know what? I'm just like, do you know, I'm going to work with parents, like that whole system approach. When there's like, when they've lost a child and mum and dad grieve so differently. Men don't always, the society, you're a man, the society of men, even though it's getting better, they're still told, there's still so much pressure on men. You mustn't cry, big boys don't cry, all of that. And then the woman is kind of leaning. So the man is then kind of like, I need to be there for my wife. I need to be strong. I need to be masculine and do this.
Put all their own feelings to one side and just don't deal with anything.
Exactly. Hence, addictions and all of that. And so I kind of want to work with all of it. So the whole system. And I think it's really helpful because I've got the social worker background. I understand parenting and so that's what I'm building in the background, Andy.
That's amazing. And it's needed, you know what I mean? Because that's such a complex area. And I've never really thought about it because it's such a niche thing to get involved in. But obviously it is your niche because of what's happened to you. But,
absolutely. And do you know what? I actually really, 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 and I know this might sound the most weirdest thing ever, is I actually like talking about death and grief and bereavement. And I can be with someone if the child hasn't died yet, that pre-grief stuff. I've gone to people to the graves, with them before. So my ideal plan as well is to have like retreats.
Right.
Yeah. retreats, and I'm in the middle of me and another two ladies who you met, Elizabeth and Eleanor Grace. We're in the middle of making our own little thing summit for fall. Yeah, we're doing our 2-day summit. So I'm not going to give too much away, but it's going to be amazing. I'm excited.
Brilliant. Keep that under your hat though for now.
Pardon?
Keep it under your hat.
Yeah.
It's funny what you say though, there about men and stuff like that. I've been to like a charity event today where there's like 3 or 4 different like Andy's Man Club.
Yeah.
Well, they were there today, and there was like another 3 or 4 organisations from Warrington, because I don't live too far away from Warrington.
Oh, okay.
That were all doing similar things to help men, and it just made me realise that, do you know what? When I got talking to all of the guys there, it was just all a similar thing. Yes, it's getting more popular. It's getting more, there's people actually coming in and walking through these centres. But men have just got such a... One of the guys I got talking to, who was one of the Andy's Man Club, he said they have a guy outside just in case somebody pulls up and then just sits in the car. And it says it happens quite a lot, and then they'll just go over and give them a quick knock. Are you all right? Do you want to come in? And it's just breaking that stigma of going in.
And fear, isn't it? Everything, a lot of stuff is fear-based.
Yeah.
It tells you...
We're just not programmed to do it. Women can have conversations quite openly about the feelings and talk to the friends. Men just don't do that. Some men do, but the majority of men will not talk to the friends about emotions or feelings or how life is. I think
it's so hard. I think this for me. I think the whole thing needs changing. The whole way we view that, and it starts. Where does it start? It starts from those early years, from parenting. Of like, for me, I've got a son and he's 17. And I try to, instill, look, if you're struggling, you need to come and talk to me. I've had some really deep conversations with him, and I can't say too much because some of his friends watch this. Some of his friends watch this, and
I know.
And some of it's like, wow, I can't believe you did that, Bernie. You're such a cool mum, And I'm like, well, I've got to, because I was there once. Yeah. I was a kid.
Yeah.
I was 17. No one was there for me at that age, so I've got to be there and supply certain stuff at that age for your children, haven't you?
Change the narrative that we was taught and just the way that we got brought up, because if we don't do that, it's just going to carry on doing the same thing. But we've got responsibility.
Big time. So, what are we on? We've nearly been talking an hour. Can you believe it?
Wow. I know. Who'd have thought it?
I know. It's like coffee and toast, but it's not coffee and toast. It's more strawberries and
roast strawberries.
I know. They were lovely. Actually, I've got loads more in the cupboard. So, is there anything, not in the cupboard, in the fridge, is there anything else that you wanted to talk about, Andy, before we wrap up? Is there anything?
No, I think it was just that vulnerability piece. It's all right for men to be vulnerable. I think it's just drop the stigma and just talk to people and just have, there's nothing wrong with getting a coach. There's nothing wrong with talking to a therapist. It did me a lot of good. I've been seeing a really good therapist for the last 2 years. And all the army therapists that I've been to before were all trauma focused. So it never really helped me, because it was like taking me back to the roots. Right, let's talk about what happened. It's like, well, all right, we'll do that. But
you know that. You're the expert at it.
But I know what's going to happen is I'm just going to get upset and I'm just going to go inside myself. And what's the point? So that's what the army did. But since I've started seeing this therapist, I've started going back to childhood and understanding where all the traumas come from bringing it forward. And it's just such a powerful tool, talking to people.
It does.
So drop that guard is what I would say to most men who are listening to this. Have a conversation with someone, even if it is your mate. It's better having a conversation. There's one powerful thing I want to share. There's a guy called Tom Talks, I think he's called. And he's on Instagram. And he shared, I've only just recently sort of came across him, and what basically happened with this chap is he had an argument, he's very close with his brother, but he had an argument with his brother on this one night. And his brother stormed out the house, and he said he felt something. He said about 20 minutes later, or whatever the sound might be, he felt something. So he went round to his brother's house and found him. He'd hanged himself. And it was what he's done with that. Obviously, that's crippled him. It's emotionally, it's just destroyed him. But he's took that, and you see him going to schools and doing sort of workshops and standing up and talking to people about what happened, but shining his light now and doing it in memory of his brother. Do you know? But that's how important it is, because things like that, if they'd have talked that night, it wouldn't have happened. And it's just little things like that.
I know. And do you know what I notice as well with being a social worker is, and I find it really hard sometimes. I really struggle with this because I see a lot of, usually the mums get the children and the house and everything. And what I see so many times is the dads and have to reset and restart. You don't get housing. Housing a massive thing. You don't get the housing. You don't get the support as much as what women get. Even though there's this whole stigma about men having power, I understand that about men having power in jobs and everything, but in society, when it comes to kind of being vulnerable, women are so much easier. They've got more services for women compared to men. What is it? The highest suicide rate, isn't it, between something like 25 and 45 or something like that? And it's with men. And I look and I'm just like, it's because and sometimes what happens is they don't even cry for help. There's no cry. Women talk about it, like you say. Men
it's
just
silent killer, isn't it? Because they just do it and then that's it. They feel like they can't talk to anyone. That makes it go worse. And again, it's another self-limiting belief that you believe that you can't talk to anyone, but you can.
It's fear of doing it, fear of and a
fear
lot
of being judged, fear of what people might say, and all that noise in your head is just noises. Thoughts are not facts. Thoughts are just thoughts. They come and they go. Once you've got your head around that, and you understand that everything that's something. I listened to a podcast the other day, and they said that you talk to yourself 4,000 words a minute.
Wow.
And think about how many of those words that you're saying to yourself are positive and how many are negative, because we have this negative bias that as humans we're all driven to think a negative way. It's like if you put a post up on Facebook and let's just say you get 100 comments, all positive, but you get one negative, which one are you going to look at?
A lot of people look at negative. I mean, absolutely. And I looked, somebody comment, I wanted to talk about that actually. Somebody, I put a picture up the other day of my son who died of leukemia. I've never really kind of put it up there like that. And it kind of went a bit viral. And I think you commented on it as well. And the comments were so lovely. And there was one comment and it talked about, why do you feel like you need to share your story on here? And it went on to, like, it was pretty savage. And I sat there and I was like, wow, that person's got a lot of energy going on there. Negative, I don't always like saying negative and positive. They've got issues for them to kind of, they said, anyway, I don't feel anything. And I'm like, you've just took about 10 minutes to message that on there. So you must feel something. So I just replied, have a magical day. I'm like, I don't, stuff like that. I kind of, and I think the more people use coaches and it changes your complete mindset. 10 years ago, 5 years, maybe even 2 years ago, I'd have gone really defensive and probably went, how the hell do you feel? Who do you think you are? Whereas now I'm just like, actually, that's about them. That's their issue. This is my Instagram and I can share what the hell I want. Thank you. Don't look.
Absolutely. Scroll on.
I know.
If you weren't bothered about it, why would you need to put a comment on it? But anyway, like you said, have a magical day.
And move on. Enjoy it. And that is as simple as that. It's about changing your mindset, isn't it? It's about doing activities, and I sometimes call them rituals myself, like kind of even just using the cards. I get a card out each day and it's like a little manifestation to me and it'll set me off.
Love it. Nothing wrong with that at all.
I know. So, anything else you want to talk about with regards to vulnerability or resilience that you kind of think, actually, we have spoken about that. I really want to share that because that's really juicy.
No, I think we've pretty much covered everything there.
Yeah, I reckon. I reckon. So what are you going to go do now, Andy?
I'm going to go and watch a series, because I haven't been watching any TV at all, but I've been trying to watch this the series, and I've been watching bits and bobs.
I've nearly done it.
Yeah, so I'm going to go and watch one episode of that before I get my head down, because I've got another busy day of about 25 clients tomorrow.
Oh my gosh, you're going to have to. Do you know what? It's that card, isn't it? What I just said. What I said, this is your life's purpose.
Yeah.
Because we're both quite new at doing this, actually. I mean, yeah, and I'm saying that I'm new. I've been doing it in my normal professional life, but doing it like solitary on my own, it's new. It's not been long at all. So yeah, so
you're going to be amazing at it. You're going to do so. You're just going to help so many people. You can just tell that the energy that you've got. You know that it's warm. You've just got that compassion about you, and with what you've been through to then go and help other people. It's an absolute fucking. It's just so good. Yeah,
I know. I love it, and thank you so much for your kind words. I really appreciate that, Andy. And yeah, and let's keep speaking. Let's keep talking. Let's keep letting people hear our stories.
Getting the message out there. Absolutely. Yeah. Everyone's gone through the shit show. Everyone's gone through it, but you can fucking come back. You don't have to be stuck in that. Remember, it's just fucking temporary.
Yeah.
And there's better things happening around the corner. Always.
There is. And I invite everyone who's watching to the Zoom tomorrow evening at 9 o'clock.
Absolutely.
I will try and share this. Are you okay for me to share this and put it on Instagram? And
yeah. And if anybody wants any free coaching, just hit me up on my Keyboard for Mountain. Send me.
I'm going to tag you. I'll tag you in the post so they can
tag it in.
Out, and I'll make you a collaborator. Yeah. All right, my darling. So
thank you very much for the chat.
No, you're welcome. And enjoy your watch of you. It's very interesting.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Right. Lots of love, everyone.
See you later.
Bye.